Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning and welcome to a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Thursday, folks. I want to thank David Steele for our introduction today. Today's program, it's Thursday. That means we have our Heisman Trophy voter and college football analyst Brent Beaird. Not a whole lot going on in the sports world right now. So we're going to get right into it. Good morning, Brent. You're on the Titan More Hotline. How are you?
Well, I'm doing fine. The amazing thing about it is this week we're still talking scrimmages and a few different moves for personnel. We do have the AP poll out, but by the way, they came out on Monday. And the amazing thing, is it not, Shane, is this time next week we'll be previewing games for week 0. That's still kind of stunning when you think about that. Navy and Notre Dame, Hawaii and Vanderbilt, and San Jose State and Southern Cal. Those are some of your mainstays there. So we've got Notre Dame and Southern Cal on week 0.
Yep, it should be a lot of fun for sure. Real quick before we jump into it, we got a text on the Titan More text line here, and it came from the 386 area code. I'm not sure who that is. It says, Shane, regarding JC's fixation yesterday on the Gator QB's role and success this year, the data is on your side. Yeah, JC and I went at it yesterday, but everybody's got their own opinions. And for some reason, my Facebook is not working today. So I don't have any Facebook Live questions working. I don't know what's going on. I'll have to put it up on my phone. Brent, is there anything, before we jump into the teams and stuff like that, we all know the coaches poll has come out, the AP poll has come out. Anything surprise you at either one of those?
No, not really. I mean, we've been looking at this, frankly, for several months. I mean, the AP poll and the coaches poll is fairly similar to Lindy's and also to Athlon. Now, Lindy's and Athlon, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Bama. Athlon, Georgia, Michigan, Bama, USC. Ohio State's 5th. USC is grossly overrated, I think, with that. Preseason poll, Georgia, Michigan, Bama, Ohio State. AP poll, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU, and Southern Cal that are 5 and 6. So basically what this is telling us, we've got a top 10 matchup in Orlando, as everyone knows. And basically it's kind of fun for radio debate and podcast debate on a lot of the rest of them. So frankly, Shane, nothing really that we haven't seen yet. As I mentioned earlier, USC is getting a lot of love because of Caleb Williams, but if they don't fix their defense, they're going to be maybe even out of the top 25. I think their defense will be better. They had 22 takeaways last year, and the odds of doing that again are minuscule. So that's one thing they've got to deal with. And otherwise, it's kind of a typical the rest of the schools about what we would see.
It's interesting. I saw in your notes that that someone who started in the top 10, how many years has it been now? I'm trying to find it. but at least one team who started in the top 10 ended up the season unranked.
Oh yeah, yeah. That every year for the past 21 years, except for 2019, at least one preseason top 10 team finished the season unranked. Last year, it was Texas A&M, Baylor, and Oklahoma. So that is very true. Amazing kind of how that happens. By the way, the Pac-12 that is disappeared or disappearing, may be ready to appear again, has placed 4 teams in the top 15, Shane.
Yeah.
Look, and we said that last week, for a conference that basically is disintegrated right before our eyes, this is probably going to be the best year they've had in nearly 10 years.
Yeah, and I keep going back to that. That's fascinating about that stat in the last 21 years. Someone in the top 10 finished unranked. I'm looking at the top 10 right now. I can't figure out one of those teams that won't be unranked.
Well, which is a good point. I mean, now Penn State is supposed to be,
Very
a lot
good.
of people like Penn State. They've got a really good defense, but you trust that coaching staff with James Franklin. I mentioned USC a few minutes ago as a possibility. But look, I think Clemson's going to be better. Washington with Michael Penix is really good. So, I mean, to your point, you're right. Now, someone could have a quarterback injury early on, such as an LSU. If Jaden Daniels goes down, how much that will affect them? It certainly would. But again, we'll let it play out and see what happens. But right now, they all look like they'll be in the top 10.
Andy has a Facebook Live brought to you by Meldon Law Question. He says, Brent, Gators are ranked 42nd in the AP poll. Do you think that's a fair spot? Coaches had them 27th, I think.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm looking here in Lindy's magazine. They were 32nd. I think they're at least in the top 30. And I think they've got a chance to be better than that. Frankly, would it shock me if they ended up in the top 25? With the schedule so tough, that's hard to say. But Shane and I are on the same page with this. I'm getting more convinced all the time that they're going to be better. I'm not saying they're going to win the East, but I do think they're 8-4-ish is a real possibility. And I've heard all this. Well, they won't be any better than 6-6 or 5-7. I don't believe that. I think they're better than that. But yeah, I think 40-ish it is a bit much. Does that surprise me? No, but I mean, it would be the good thing for Florida when you don't have any expectations. There's not a lot of pressure.
Jeff says on Facebook, or ask on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, can Cam Rising possibly get ready to play at this point? I don't see how it's possible personally, Jeff. We shall see. If they had to play today, I got to be on some Utah stations, radio stations later today. I'm going to try to get some information, but I don't know how it's possible he can play, quite honestly. But we should see.
The thing with them, let me just say this real quick, Shane. The thing with them is they're so physical on the line of scrimmage. If people didn't see them last year, go back and YouTube the conference championship game with Southern Cal. They just dismantled Southern Cal. And by the time of the fourth quarter came around, Southern Cal wanted nothing to do with them at that point. So, Shane, that's my thing is it's not just Cam Rising, and I'm with you. That's a real question mark is, can Florida match their physicality?
Yeah, no question. Some of the top teams in America are starting new quarterbacks. And I'm going to ask you and our listeners who they think will have the better year of these guys. Georgia obviously is starting Carson Beck. Kyle McCord will start for the Ohio State Buckeyes. He's been there for several years. They think Jalen Milroe probably will start at Alabama. Cade Klubnik at Clemson. Drew Allar at Penn State. And Joe Milton at Tennessee. Who do you think out of those guys, Brent, in your mind, will have the better year?
Well, I'm going to go with the teams that have really good guy that they've got really good personnel around them. Because of their schedule and because they're so good, offensive line, defensive line, offensive line, wide receiver, and running back, Georgia will be fine. I still think Bama will be fine because they're going to be better on the offensive line at running back. Receivers have got to step up, and their defense is going to be better. I think Clemson will be okay. DJU is gone to the Pac-12, and he needed to be. I like Klubnik. I think he's going to be fine. And the thing about Clemson is Clemson's front seven could virtually be in the NFL right now. I mean, they are that good. I've got less confidence in Joe Milton and Tennessee's defense than I have any of them.
Yeah. My pick out of those guys would be Cade Klubnik. I like him a lot. I think Clemson's going to roll through the ACC. Roll. Because they should have won it last year. Well, they did win the ACC last year. They had a couple losses that kept them out of the playoffs due to the quarterback. And that's Dabo's fault. All right. Brent, as you said, we'll be talking about games next week. Anything, I mean, you mentioned them earlier. Anyone you got your eye on?
Well, I mean, you certainly want to see Notre Dame. I mean, the Navy games in Ireland, which makes it a little more interesting. That's about or someone will correct us, but I think it's about a 30 to 40,000 seat stadium they'll be playing in. I mean, obviously, Vanderbilt needs to get started off to a good start, see how much they're improved. Gosh,
have you seen their stadium they're going to be playing in this year, Brent?
Vanderbilt?
Yeah. It's only going to seat about 24,000.
Yes, I saw that.
I mean, look, they're adding on to both end zones. They're building football facilities and basketball facilities, all that stuff. But it looks to me the planning was terrible. I mean, you should have had some seats in place because here's what's going to happen. The Vanderbilt fans ain't going to get in the ballpark.
You're right.
Because when Georgia rolls into town and these other teams, they're going to buy up all the tickets.
No doubt. Listen, I lived in Fort Worth, Texas for 3 years. There are high school stadiums in the state of Texas that have bigger capacity than Vanderbilt's going to have this year. And also, certainly, our prayers go to the folks in Hawaii. I'm guessing, Shane, they want to get out of town for a week just to get away from all the pressure with that. And look, obviously, and unfortunately, it's on the Pac-12 network. I wish it wasn't, but don't we also want to see USC that they'll win easily, but still. And you've got UTEP, Jacksonville State, UMass, New Mexico State, Ohio, and San Diego State. You don't see that matchup very often. And Florida International at Louisiana Tech. So, I mean, it's not a great slate of games, but look, we're so hungry for college football that we'll watch a lot of them.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick before we jump into around the SEC, we got a text on the Titan More text line from Jackson in Charlotte, North Carolina. Brent, can you give us an update on what's going on with Florida State and the ACC?
Yeah, right now there is a deadline of the 15th of this month that is passed, and currently Florida State did not announce anything as far as what they were going to do. Now, I can assure you they still want to get out of the ACC. They just didn't have all the ducks in the row this time in order for that to happen. So you've got to announce, basically a year in advance of what your intentions are going to be. I think what that tells me is they're still trying to get money together. And I mean, you got to have a lot of money if you're going to get out of the ACC. It's a $120 million exit fee, but that just starts the expenses. And the number two is, do they have a clear landing place? And they don't, I think is obvious. But the reality is, even though the deadline has passed, they have two goals. Their ultimate goal is to get out of the league and to go somewhere else, SEC, Big Ten. The other goal is they want to get a bigger share of the money. In other words, what they're saying is we have three. I forgot what the exact number is, but the people who watch their games are more than in Clemson or more than anyone else's in the conference. So what they're saying is, in the meantime, they're trying to get a bigger percentage of the money. So that's something they're working on too, while they work on getting out of the conference and looking at the grant of rights, which we could spend a lot of time on that, but we won't. If anyone wants to talk about that, I'll be glad to talk about it. But in the interest of time, they're still trying to figure that out and still trying to look at it. But as of this morning, what is still going on is Southern Cal and Stanford are still trying to get into the Big Ten and the ACC. You've got Oliver Luck, who now is a consultant for the Pac-12, and he can end up being the commissioner. Luck really knows what he's doing, is well respected. He's done a little bit of everything in the NCAA, athletic directors, etc. So the Pac-12, or the Pac is kind of what they're calling them, is still way up in the air. American Conference and Mountain West schools are also interested in the new Pac. So without spending too much time on this, it's all still very fluid. It's not over by any means. And just because we're about to start playing games, thank God, it doesn't mean that expansion and realignment is over by any means.
Rules-Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Another text on the Titan More text line from Jeffrey. He says, Shane, did you see where they're building a restaurant in Tallahassee called Bowden's? They're copying Coach Spurrier. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, because Urban has a restaurant. Don Shula has restaurants all over America. It'll be good for them up there. So we'll see how that goes. Brent, let's talk about the defensive lines, how the rankings, preseason rankings of the SEC defensive lines you got here.
Well, there's some good ones too in the SEC, and this is what determines championships. And I give Saturday Down South credit for this. Georgia's listed as number one, even with the losses that they've got. Mikael Williams, Jason Walker, Marvin Jones Jr. They're 10 deep on the offensive line, including the outside linebackers and the edges. A&M is second. Shamir Turner and Fidel Diggs, Shamir Stewart, L.T. Ovington. That's a good line, too. LSU is third. Harold Perkins can line up anywhere. Mason Smith is the guy to watch for. Harold Perkins and Mason Smith have gotten to be blocked. If you're playing LSU, or you're probably going to lose. Alabama's fourth. Tim Smith, Jaheim Otis, James Smith, Chris Braswell, Dallas Turner. Fifth is Arkansas, who made to do really well. Trajan Jeffcoat, transfer from Missouri. Landon Jackson is a defensive end. Kentucky is six. They've got a good crew there. They're 5 deep. on the interior, Josiah Haynes, Deion Walker. Tennessee 7, Missouri is 8. Florida is 9. Cam Jackson, Chris McClellan, Desmond Watson, Kelby Collins. Shane, that group may be better than people think it is, and I'm already a big Austin Armstrong fan. I'm going to be very interested to see what he does with that bunch.
Well, that's the front seven is the key to this season for sure. Before we jump around the league, we got an interesting text that came in from Brad in McKinney, Texas. And he's asking me, and I'm going to ask our listeners this as well. He says, Shane, if you could bring one player back from last year's team that either went pro, transferred, graduated, or what have you, who would that one player be? I think that's a great question. Mine would be Osiris Torrance. I don't know who our other listeners would want back, but it's a great question. Who one guy you could have back from last year's team. My pick would be Osiris. So, Brent, let's go around the league. Alabama, obviously, the big question marks coming out of Tuscaloosa, and I know you follow them closely. Who do you think is going to take that? Now, even if the guy, whoever starts game one, does not mean that's going to be the starter all year. I'm having a feeling they play multiple quarterbacks game one.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. Now, what we're here is Jalen Milroe did well in the first scrimmage, maybe a little better than the others. Alabama, like a lot of schools, has their second scrimmage Saturday, so we'll know more of the depth chart then. See, after your second scrimmage is kind of when the depth chart's set. Coaches may not come out and say that all the time, but that's kind of what they use that as a guide. I think they'll play all three against Middle Tennessee before they decide who they'll go with more with against Texas. Now they'll probably maybe, and they may not tell us, but limit it to two guys taking most of the snaps after that second scrimmage. But I mean, they've still got to figure out some other position battles, such as they pretty much got Elijah Pritchett and Caden Proctor at left tackle. They've got to figure that out. One of the safety positions that they need to figure out, but they've got a lot of talent, including Kool-Aid McKinstry and Teron Arnold in that secondary at running back. Maybe the best running back room they've had in a long time. And they've got a second-year tight end, Amari Niblick, who is, as Nick Saban said, a very mismatch, very productive in the first scrimmage. So Bama absolutely have got their share of position battles yet to go.
Yeah, on YouTube, Chris says, after 3 years of terrible tape, how does Mertz just turn it around? I'm optimistic about Florida's journey, but I think it's smart to temper expectations. Our fan base is bipolar and will blame Billy. I mean, Chris, my question to you is, can you name anybody that's come out of the University of Wisconsin as a quarterback that has good tape? I mean, it's a fact. He's a good player. Yeah. He's a good player. Yeah. I will stick to my guns. He's going to have a good year.
But let me say real quick, their offense on a good day at Wisconsin is rather pedestrian, shall we say. So, I mean, Wisconsin doesn't run four wide.
No,
all the
they don't
time.
They don't turn around and throw the football till it's 3rd and 9.
No. And that, look, this is not a defense of Graham Mertz. He'll have his opportunity, but I appreciate the question. But it's just a reality that their offense is different, and Mertz will have his chance to really do well. But again, if he just hits the normal plays, that's going to be great for Florida.
Yeah, and he's not going to be a game manager. They're going to let him. The offense is totally different. He's in a control of a lot of stuff. They're going to give him a lot of check with me's at the line of scrimmage. So I think he's going to have a good year. Arkansas Razorbacks. I don't know why I get this feeling, but I feel like this is a big year for Sam Pittman. Not saying if they don't do well, they're going to fire him, because I think he's a great fit for them. But why do I get that feeling, Brent?
Well, because they were around 500 last year with a incredibly tough schedule, they need to show some improvement, and I think they will. Now, what Shane and I talked about the entire season last year was how bad they were in the secondary. Now, they've got a Georgia transfer, Jaheim Singletary, that is going to help them. By the way, Singletary's from Jacksonville, so we'll be rooting for him over here. But I think that's going to help. I think the secondary is going to be much better, and that gives them reason for hope. Their front seven last year was really good, but again, schedule was very, very tough, to say the least. And frankly, remember, this is a team Florida plays, so Gator fans need to be paying attention to them. But their quarterback, KJ Jefferson, and their running back, Rocket Sanders, are two of the best at that position in the entire SEC.
They really are. Text on the Titan Mark text line from our friend up in the 386. He says, you might have talked about this already, but I'm hearing Cam Rising might not be ready until game 4, according to a few Utes podcasts. That would make more sense.
Yes.
I don't see how in the world he plays against the Florida Gators. Auburn Tigers. They have a quarterback battle going on now. A lot of people think it's going to be Peyton Thorne, who basically had the same type of stats as Graham Mertz in the Big Ten. What are you hearing, Brent?
Yeah, Thorne's from Michigan State. Now, they also like Robbie Ashford and Holden Grenier. They had touchdowns and 0 turnovers, which makes any coach happy. And look, we all know Hugh Freeze can develop a quarterback. So I think they'll eventually be fine. They like their running backs, Brian Batty. Jarquez Hunter is also back on the team, by the way. Damari Austin is I'm Jeremiah Cobb. Running back, I think they're going to be good. Larry Nixon III is playing well at linebacker. Also, they've got a lot of wide receivers banged up, but they're still doing well in recruiting. But I'm with you. I think this is a job that Peyton Thorne, who comes over from Michigan State, eventually takes over. But the good thing for Auburn is if Thorne gets hurt, they will have guys experienced who can play.
Chris is talking. I'm only looking at these YouTube comments from Chris. He said he watched some breakdown. He's excited to see what happens this season. He graduated from Florida during the Treon Harris era, so I'm not sure it can get any worse. Quarterback play will be light years better than then. So, all right, the Florida Gators. We know they're going to be wearing black uniforms for Military Appreciation Week. I think they're going to, aren't our people probably know this, Brent, you may know, aren't they going to auction those off? Do we know that? Or did I dream that?
And that's going to be November 4th versus Arkansas. Thank God. If you're wearing black jerseys, you need to wear them in November instead of September. Look, I'm sure our listeners can let us know that. I think that's what I read too. That they will do that and auction them off and be able to help. By the way, our listeners may be also interested to know that at Arizona State, Jaden Rashada may end up being the starting quarterback, and the reason that would happen is their third-string quarterback. Now, Rashada was third string. Drew Pine, the Notre Dame transfer, has got a hamstring injury, and Trenton Bourget is another guy that I think that they are kind of neck and neck at this point now. And I may be pronouncing that wrong, forgive me, but Bourget had 5 stars for Arizona State last year, so he's got obviously more experience than Rashada. But amazingly, Rashada is in this mix, maybe a little quicker than we thought he might be.
Georgia Bulldogs. Word out of Athens, Kirby Smart was not very happy after his first scrimmage.
No, and I mean, he's just trying to get them focused, is the thing that he's trying to do. So they've got a long way to go. Don't have a starting quarterback yet. Carson Beck, Brock Vandergriff, Gunnar Stockton all playing. I think we all believe this is going to be Carson Beck's job, frankly, to lose. Georgia didn't have one of their tight ends got hurt. Lawson Lucky, he wasn't very lucky, unfortunately. Excuse the pun there, but he had an ankle injury, so hopefully he'll be back soon. Had 3 catches, 50 yards in the G-Day game, so the kid's shown some good potential. Obviously, Brock Bowers, Oscar Delp, Pierce Sperlin, they're loaded at that position. So I think that's what you're seeing here is Kirby Smart just trying to get their attention and keep them from being bored is what it amounts to.
Could be. Donna asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Law, where's Emory Jones these days? He's at Cincinnati. I don't know if he's going to be if he's penciled as a starter or not, but he is playing for the Bearcats. Text on the Titan Mar text line from Daryl. Good morning, guys. I think Auburn's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the future. Hugh Freeze can recruit. And Jimmy from Yellowwood has a big checkbook. So absolutely, I agree with that. LSU Tigers, obviously getting ready for the semis in Orlando. Any news coming out of Baton Rouge?
Yeah, 2 things. Denver Harris is a defensive back that transferred to LSU from Texas A&M. He is off the team right now, attending to quote-unquote personal matters. Brian Kelly said he may be back this weekend. They've also had an unfortunate injury. Cornerback J.K. Johnson, who is a transfer from Ohio State, it looks like he may be out for the year with a leg injury. That's really unfortunate for them, too. I mean, it's not that they don't have depth, but he's got a fracture, and that's a long-term deal. But, again, a lot of excitement still for that LSU-FSU game. We are going to be down there for First Coast News doing a pregame and a postgame show. So we're excited about that, to say the least. That should be a lot of fun because that will be a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it will be. John's question for you, Brent, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law. He says, what does Brent Beaird think about Utah going live on their QBs during practice and now have lost their second string quarterback?
Yeah, that's a tough call. I'd be interested in Shane's thoughts on that. You're taking a chance. Yeah, you're taking a chance, but they also want to get these guys some work. And when it backfires, it's a disaster. But if it works, they're more ready for the season. So that's a good point. And at this time, because the surgery from Rising and because the second string guy got hurt, you're basically down to your third string guy. Of course, again, there's a lot of this that we don't know. And people are asking, well, is the coach sandbagging? Well, we don't know that yet. But I'm with Shane on this one, too, because he understands this more than any of us is. And what I'm hearing is, Shane, it's not just the physical part of it, but recovering from an ACL. I've had many players tell me before, it is a good year mentally and psychologically before you've really got confidence in your knee. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I never tore my ACL, but I do know that you aren't going to be the same player. And until you have a lot of games under your belt after that type of injury,
right.
It's always going to be in the back of your mind. No question about it. Couple of Facebook Live. And back to being live. I started playing football at 5 years old. I played flag. I can't remember when I started tackle. And I retired at age 36 from playing. And have been around it my whole life. I have never seen quarterbacks. I've never personally experienced being live in practice, scrimmage, or anything. because that's the dumbest thing I ever heard, quite honestly. And now it is really could hurt the Utah Utes. I'm not going to question Kyle Whittingham. He's done a tremendous job there. He's a great football coach. He's very tough. He's a defensive minded guy. So maybe that's why he wants to see how tough his quarterbacks are. Look, you're either tough or you're not. I don't give a damn if you get hit in practice or get hit in a game. In a game, if a guy is mentally and physically tough or not. Watch his high school tape. But I think it's ridiculous to let quarterbacks be live. Just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, we got some questions about Ole Miss's quarterback situation. We're getting to the Rebels here. Some questions. I think Jackson Dart will be the starter. And I think if he does not play, I think they play Walker Howard.
It is no question that this, and I've been told this by a friend who covers Ole Miss. This is Jackson Dart's team, but the big question here is what Spencer Sanders is going to do. He comes over from Oklahoma State. Sanders has started like 30-plus games. I mean, started. I don't mean played, started. So the question is, what do they do with him? Does he have a package? Does he transfer? How does that work out? Walker Howard, who Shane's talking about, is a transfer from LSU. I mean, it's an enviable situation in it, Shane, to have a quarterback room like that. But there is no doubt that Dart is going to start. I mean, in this league, you've got to have 2 or 3 quarterbacks, but don't know how that's going to be. Now, let me say this too, and I got this last night. Austin Simmons obviously is very young. He's not ready to play, but the people who have watched him really love the way the ball comes out of his hand, and he has got a tremendous skill set. So, now, again, I'm not saying he's going to play. I'm just saying, and Gator fans know this, he has a lot of potential.
Yeah, he's talented. He does a lot of that stuff that looks good in shorts. I'll leave it there.
Yeah. Well said. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 53 and I can still look good in shorts, Brent. It won't be thrown real hard, but it will be accurate and on time.
No doubt.
Let's jump down to the Tennessee Vols. I mean, obviously we know Joe Milton's penciled in as the quarterback. They got the $8 million kid from California behind him. Any news coming out of Tennessee? I know they got high expectations. For some reason, I think they take a step back. I was talking to Doring the other day. He thinks they take a step back too. What's Brent Beaird think of the Vols?
Well, their big deal right now is Cooper Mays, who is their starting center, has missed the majority of camp, and he's had a small procedure, and I don't know what this is about. Really, no one else does, I don't think. But look, Shane is a quarterback. When you're used to your center, that's probably a bigger deal. You can help us with this than people realize. So, and Cooper Mays is one of the better centers in the league. So they need to get him back. Now they're getting better on the defensive line. They've got a little bit more depth. Joe Milton, and he's threw 12 touchdowns, and yet to throw an interception, which is impressive. But I'm circling around to this center thing. Shane, if Cooper Mays is delayed in playing, I'm just talking out loud here, I wonder how that would affect Milton in this offense.
Well, yeah, I mean, the center's one of the most, I mean, he's got to make all the protection calls and things of that nature. And I would assume he does that in Josh Heupel's offense. So, we'll see. But that you bring up a good point, no question about it. I want to talk about the Aggies. Aggies, in my opinion, had the best receiving core maybe in all of football.
Yes.
I think the world of Bobby Petrino when it comes to calling plays. Mm-hmm. I think this team is going to shock. Well, shock's probably the wrong word. Surprise. They're going to beat the teams they're supposed to beat, which A&M's supposed to beat, but they may beat one of the other big boys on the West and could cause some problems over there.
Now, here's the thing with them. They could still be 8-4 or 9-3 because of their schedule and being in the West. and still make significant improvement. Now, they lost their tight end, Donovan Green, who's 6'4", 250, played in 10 games last year. And that's a real blow for them. Now, they also have some replacements who can help. Max Wright, Fernando Garza, Jake Johnson. But that really hurts them with that. Now, they recruited some guys that they had to get rid of, or who kind of got rid of themselves, I'll put it that way, like Denver Harris, we mentioned a minute ago, went to LSU. Not sure if he's coming back or not. Maybe this weekend, we'll see. But they had a recruiting class in 2022 that 4 of the guys are still trying to find a school. So sometimes you just miss on guys. They're still recruiting well, but I'm with Shane on this. Connor Weigman's really good at quarterback. Max Johnson can start for a lot of teams. Their backup, their offensive line, their interior of the offensive line is as good as anybody in the nation. Shane mentioned the wide receiving group, Anais Smith, Moose Muhammad. That group really may be the best of all. And so far, you've got a situation where Bobby Petrino is running the offense and Jimbo is being quiet. But again, Shane, they play Miami the second game of the year in Coral Gables. If that thing's close in the fourth quarter and that offense is struggling a little bit, my question to you is, would Jimbo be quiet then, Shane?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't see how they can be bad on offense with the players they have.
I agree.
Katrina. I just don't see how it's possible. Another text here on the Tight No More text line from Bob. Bob wants to know, Brent, who is your early Heisman Trophy voter? It's a long text here. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But he mentions, does Marvin Harrison Jr. have a chance to win the Heisman?
Yes. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. The wide receiver is just a phenomenal player. And it's funny he said that, because in looking and having some Heisman conversations this week, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s name came up immediately, and he's gaining some steam. And again, it's interesting how these conversations go before you play a game. But yes, that would be possible. And frankly, look, I love quarterbacks, but it's almost gotten to the point where it's too much of a quarterback award, and we need to be sure we include the process of looking at everybody. Now, Caleb Williams obviously is going to be everybody's favorite. The Penix kid out of Washington, to me, Shane's it just absolutely off the charts. And look, Bo Nix. Shane, did you see this yesterday on Twitter? In New York City, they've got a huge, it says Bodacious quarterback. Got a huge picture of Bo Nix in his Oregon uniform draped across a building, and the Heisman campaign for Bo. So if you're listen, Google Pac-12 quarterbacks, and you'll find a lot of the Heisman Trophy contenders.
Well, here, Bo Nix could be the prime example for Gator fans to be excited, because he was beyond horrible for the Auburn Tigers. Beyond horrible. And now he's had a tremendous year at Oregon last year, going into year 2. So, hey, change of scenery sometimes helps folks. So we shall see. Brent, real quick, give us a little rundown on Florida State before we get you out of here.
Yeah, they're doing well. Johnny Wilson and Jordan Travis are connecting on a regular basis. Also, Destin Hill is playing well also at receiver. They love Lawrence Taufila. Their running back room is going to be very good. Also, that they're having a very good camp. Byron Turner at defensive end is a guy who they really like. Patrick Payton is another big-time player for them. This is a really good football team. And let me tell you, this Keon Coleman, I was told over the weekend, is, believe it or not, as good as Johnny Wilson is. Keon Coleman could be better. They've got a tight end transfer from South Carolina, J.M. Bell, Trey Benson at running back. So all kinds of weapons for the Noles. Offensive and defensive line is better. So they very much have got a championship type team.
Yeah. Brent, great stuff as always, my man. Appreciate your time. Look forward to next week when we talk about some games.
We sure will. Always
That's
a pleasure, Shane. Take care.
That's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Going to take a quick timeout, come back, get to a bunch of these texts and Facebook Lives. You're watching and listening to PodUp Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Attention all Gator fans, Meldon Law is giving away a chance to experience the Florida-Georgia game like never before. 2-night stay at the Hilton on the River, dinner at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, 2 premium tickets to the game, and a football signed by Coach Billy Napier, and much more. Go to the Meldon Law Facebook page and look for the VIP experience for 2. Good luck and go Gators!
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point is the flagship restaurant of the Florida Gators, the hottest restaurant in Florida in the heart of Gator Nation. That's Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Check them out at spurriers.com. I want to thank Brent Beaird for joining us on the Titan More Hotline. This Day in Sports brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. This Day in Sports in 1997, the PGA Championship at Wingfoot, Davis Love III wins his only major title over Justin Leonard. That's brought to you by our good friends at Campus USA Credit Union. Kenny says on Facebook Live, still have the sound almost off on Meldon Law. It must be low. I don't know. I don't handle that. Nora asks, whatever happened to Dooley at Millhopper Leonardo Chicago style deep dish pizza show? I don't know anything about that one, but Leonardo is a great place. Go visit them if you're here eating. Buck says, Shane, get us some good info on Rising from the Utah people today. Great show as always. Appreciate your listening. Yeah, I'm on with the actually their play-by-play guy has his own radio show for the ESPN affiliate out there. So I'm gonna be on his show today and one other show I can't remember. I'm sure he's not gonna give me any information, but I personally don't see how Cam Rising. Somebody mentioned over here that Jason Odom, who tore his ACL in the Las Vegas Bowl, got his black jersey taken off yesterday. Yeah, that was news to me. He's been in a black jersey, so maybe it's possible. I don't know, man. I don't know how it can happen. let's see. Question. Andy wants to know, do you know who will be Buholt's starting quarterback this year? Is it Doug or Cardozo's son? Doug's kid is hurt. He will be the starter, but Cardozo's kid's going to play in the meantime. So anyway, Kenny thinks Jeffrey Meldon's Gator shirt is awesome. Yeah, it's pretty cool for sure. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. Got a ton of texts on here asking if JC and I kissed and made up. I have nothing against JC. It's great radio. It's opinionated. You see it on all these other silly talk shows. I have my opinion. He has his, just like y'all have your opinion. So it does not bother me one bit. Chris says mesh concepts and running the ball won't be enough in the SEC. I love Napier. Look, I don't know where you're coming up with that. The offense will look totally different than last year. It's gonna be an opened up offense because this kid is smart, man. And Chris, just so you know, I've said this many times. He looks like a guy who would have played for Steve Spurrier. That kind of quarterback. Not going to wow you throwing the football, but when the bullets are flying, he's going to complete this ball, complete that ball, now take a shot, bam. You take 4 or 5 shots a game and you hit 1 or 2 of them, it's a good day. This team is extremely way more talented than last year's team across the board. So James says on YouTube, we just need to not be one-dimensional. Our rushing attack is dangerous. And if our passing game can back teams out from stacking the box, I hope they stack the box. They'll be stupid to stack the box because now you give chances at big plays down the field. That's what, Utah shocked me last year because they played so much man coverage and had no spot for the quarterback. And that's why Anthony just could run free. I mean, he ran free with nobody within 20 or 30 yards of him a lot of times. So, I mean, if they play like that, Mertz can run too, not like him. A balanced offense, and we will throw the ball more than you think. Reggie says Mertz himself said he is enjoying just playing the game. That tells me there's no handcuffs. No, he's smart, man. They're opening up the offense for him to get them in the right play. All right, Shane said, Andy says, if the Gators are 10-2 and the defense, it went away. Hang on, let me find it. It keeps going away here. If the defense is top 10 in the country, could Des Watson have a rushing touchdown? Billy implied he might do. Oh, I seriously doubt it. If we're top 10 defense in the country, I will be one happy Gator. Let's say that. I don't think we're going to be top 10 in the defense, though. Yeah, we'd have to be beating somebody by a lot of points to put Des Watson back there. Joseph says 5 routes, make a guy miss, out of there. Not sure what that means, but anyway, again, tomorrow we'll have JC. I'm trying to get a guy from Utah on. It's just hard. It may be a tape deal. It's just hard because of the time change. They'd have to get up real early to be on my program. Did Vandy stack the box last year? Not really. No, they just played their normal defense. James says we left a lot of plays in the passing game on the field last year because AR couldn't complete easy throws. He had way too many games with sub 50% completion. Look, we're not worried about it. It's a new year, and I think they're going to be very good. I saw somebody sent me a tweet from somebody talking about how Florida had no receivers. Again, let me tell you something. I haven't been this excited about a receiving core in probably 15 years. I think they're pretty damn good. So hope you enjoyed today's program. Be safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.